She was mid-sentence when I opened the trunk and tossed her favorite jacket onto the pavement. That was the moment she realized I wasn't bluffing. It was the beige one. The one she always wore when she wanted to look expensive but effortless. The one she used on weekends when she'd disappear for yoga and return smelling like cologne I didn't own. 5 minutes earlier, she'd leaned across the hood of the car and told her brother, "I could leave this marriage whenever I want. Don't tempt me." She said it like it was funny. Like our relationship was some Netflix show she could pause, rewind, or unsubscribe from when it got too real. Her brother laughed. I didn't. She looked at me sideways. "Oh my God, don't be dramatic, Sawyer. It's a joke." But here's the thing, it wasn't. And she knew it. I didn't say a word. I just walked to the car, popped the trunk, and started pulling out her overnight bag. Then the cosmetics case. Then the jacket. That's when the smirk started to slip off her face. "Seriously," she said. "You're doing this in front of my family?" I didn't answer. I just picked up her phone from the center console, held it up, and finally said, "Does Alec know you call it a joke?" Her face changed. I mean, really changed. It was like watching a light switch flick from smug to panic. She lunged for the phone. "Give me that." Too late. I'd already seen the messages. The photo. The stupid voice memo. Her whispering, "Next weekend can't come fast enough." I backed away. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, in the middle of her parents' driveway, holding the phone like a dead bird. Her mother came out, asking what was going on. Her father hovered behind, arms crossed, watching me like I was the problem. She turned on the tears fast. "He's trying to embarrass me. This is what I deal with," she sobbed. I couldn't even laugh. I just opened her suitcase, dropped the phone in, zipped it shut, and rolled it to the edge of the porch. "You said you could leave any time," I told her. "Congratulations. This is any time." I got in the car. I didn't slam the door. I didn't peel out. I just drove away. And yeah, I cried in the Wendy's parking lot 10 minutes later. I'm not gonna lie, but that was nothing compared to what I found when I got home. Because back at the house, on the guest room bed, was something I wasn't supposed to see. And it wasn't just proof she cheated. It was something worse. Something I'd never be able to unsee. When I got back to the house, I wasn't even thinking straight. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped the keys twice. I unlocked the door, walked inside, and for the first few seconds, I just stood there in the hallway. It was quiet. Too quiet. No perfume scent. No annoying hum of her essential oil diffuser. Just silence, and the faint ticking of the stupid cat-shaped wall clock her mother gave us as a housewarming gift. I went straight to the guest room. I don't even know why. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe because it was the one place she thought I never looked. We never used that room for anything. Just storage, random gift bags, boxes of holiday crap. But when I opened the door, I knew immediately something was off. The bed was too perfect. Not a single wrinkle in the duvet, except for one. A sharp crease across the middle like someone had recently sat on it. On the pillow was a scarf. Not hers. I picked it up. It still smelled like aftershave, and not mine. That was the first punch. The second? That came when I noticed the small black pouch tucked half under the mattress. I pulled it out. Inside was a burner phone. A literal burner phone. Who even uses those anymore unless they're selling drugs or cheating? I opened it, and it powered right on. No passcode. Bold move. There were only 4 contacts. No names. Just emojis, a flame, a lock, a camera, and a black heart. I opened the messages. I wish I hadn't. The camera one? It was Alec. No doubt about it. Photos of hotel key cards. Bathroom mirror selfies. Her feet, on his dashboard. Who the hell takes pictures of their feet with another man unless they want to humiliate you on a spiritual level? And then I saw the calendar app. She had dates marked off like it was some twisted advent countdown. Except instead of counting down to Christmas, it was to some trip. A trip she never told me about. Booked right after our anniversary. I sat on the edge of the bed and just stared. I couldn't even cry. It was too surreal. This wasn't just a fling. This was a plan. An escape route. A whole secret life built inside the walls of my house. I went to our bedroom, pulled out her suitcase again, and this time I really packed. Not just clothes, everything. Her jewelry, her laptop charger, the random crystal she claimed was for balance. I dumped it all in. I even tossed in the cat-shaped clock. Let her stare at it like I've had to for 3 years. And then, like a masochist, I opened her laptop. I shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have. But I did. There were emails. She had an email folder literally named Crescent Moon Alt Life. Who names something like that unless they know they're a villain? And that's where I found the final nail. An email thread between her and Alec. Title, Plan B. In it, she said, word for word, if he ever finds out, I'll just play the victim. He cries easily. It'll work. That's when something inside me just turned off. The sadness, the begging, the hoping she'd explain. Gone. She wanted out? Then I'd show her what out really looked like. And I hadn't even gotten to the best part yet. Because while she was still playing innocent at her parents' house, I was about to send a message that would ruin everything she'd built behind my back. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a second. I just sat on the floor beside the half-zipped suitcase, staring at the glow of her laptop like it was radioactive. My brain kept looping that sentence over and over. He cries easily. It'll work. Like I'm just some pathetic, weepy pawn in her little game. And maybe I was. Maybe I had been. But not anymore. Around 3 a.m., I finally stood up. My legs were stiff. My chest felt hollow. But I knew what I had to do. If she wanted to pretend to the world that she was the victim, I needed to get ahead of her. Not with revenge. Not yet. Just truth. Cold, undeniable truth. So I copied everything. The burner phone photos. The emails. The voice memos. Yes, she actually recorded herself giggling while telling Alec she had manipulation down to a science. It made me sick. I uploaded it all to a private drive and labeled it, if she twists the story, open this. I didn't even know what I'd do with it. I just needed a lifeline, something to hold on to if the storm hit. By morning, she still wasn't home. No text, no call, just silence, like I was the one who needed to come crawling back. So I got in the car and drove straight to her work. I wasn't planning to make a scene. I wasn't even planning to go inside. I just wanted to see if Alec was real. And yeah, he was. He existed. He stepped out of the building around 10:15 a.m. tall. Fit. That obnoxious confidence you only see in guys who think the world owes them applause for existing. And right behind him, like a ghost following her son, came her. Karis. Laughing. Tossing her hair. Not a care in the world. I didn't approach them. I stayed in the car. I watched. And when Alec turned to say goodbye, she kissed him. On the cheek. Quick. But too familiar. Too comfortable. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt clarity. Like everything suddenly snapped into focus. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't hiding. She was testing. Pushing boundaries to see how far I'd been before I broke. So I drove home. Again. And this time, I left her suitcase out in the driveway. With a note taped to it. 5 words. That's all. You're free. So go live. An hour later, the doorbell rang. I didn't answer. I watched from the upstairs window as she stood there, staring at the suitcase like it was some kind of bomb. She read the note, then glanced around like she thought she was being pranked. She knocked. Once. Twice. Then she shouted, Sawyer, this is ridiculous. I didn't move. Then her phone buzzed. I could see her check it. And that's when her face changed. Completely. Because I'd sent the first message. Not to her. To Alec's wife. And if Karis thought she could control the fallout, she had no idea what was coming next. When I tell you her face drained of color, I mean it. Like someone flipped a switch and pulled every ounce of smug right out of her bones. She stood there, frozen, phone still in her hand, eyes locked on the screen. She didn't even knock again. Just turned, grabbed the handle of her suitcase, and wheeled it back toward her car like a ghost. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just watched from behind the blinds as the cracks finally started to show. That was the first domino. Because what she didn't know, and Alec definitely didn't know, was that I didn't just send one message. I sent 4. One to Alec's wife. One to their company's HR department. One to her cousin, the same one she laughed with while mocking me. And one to myself, with everything backed up and time-stamped, in case they try to play victim later. It was all unfolding faster than I expected. Alec's wife replied first. A simple message, I've known. But thank you. Now I have proof. I swear, that line hit me harder than anything Karis ever said. I've known. That poor woman had been living her own version of hell, just like me, pretending everything was fine because that's what people expect. Around noon, I got the next hit. Karis blew up my phone. 15 calls in a row, no voicemail, just panic. I ignored all of them. Then came the texts. Karis, Sawyer, what did you do? Karis, you're going too far. You're ruining everything. Karis, please. Let's talk. Just talk. Karis, do you understand what you've done? Karis, you're destroying my career. That one made me laugh. She wasn't worried about us. About me. About our marriage. No, it was always about her image. Her job. Her next move. Then came the one that stopped me cold. Karis, you think you're the only one with dirt. I sat back in my chair. What did that mean? Was she bluffing? What could she possibly have? I hadn't done anything wrong. I'd been boringly loyal. Pathetically patient. Unless she'd been planning something deeper. Something darker. And suddenly I remembered the camera. 2 months ago, she insisted we get a home security camera. Just for safety, she said. You're gone during the day, and I like knowing I'm not alone. But she was never alone. That's the part that stuck in my chest like glass. I pulled up the camera app. She'd set it up on her laptop, but I had the password saved too. I hadn't checked it in weeks, never had a reason. But now, my hands were sweating as I logged in. There were dozens of clips. Most were just her walking in and out. Boring. But then, one from a Thursday 2 weeks ago. 11:32 a.m. The camera was angled slightly wrong, tilted toward the hallway. Not where I'd left it. But it still caught the edge of the bedroom door. And from that crack, I saw movement. 2 shadows. Hers, and someone taller. I skipped forward. 11:41 a.m. A hand, a man's hand, reached out from the door, holding her waist. She laughed. Loud. Unfiltered. Not the fake laugh she gave me. The real one. The one she used to save for people she wanted to impress. The clip ended with her walking out in just a t-shirt and socks, holding 2 glasses of wine at 11 in the morning. So no, I wasn't crazy. I hadn't imagined any of it. But now I had video. And while she was scrambling to clean up the mess, I was preparing for something bigger. Because I wasn't just going to expose her lies. I was going to make sure she never had a place to hide again. By that evening, something had shifted in her. The texts stopped coming. No more calls. Just pure, eerie silence. It felt unnatural, like the air before a storm. I kept checking the front yard every hour, half expecting her to show up again, dramatic as ever, pretending to cry, acting like I'd gone too far. But she didn't. She vanished. And I should have been relieved. But instead, I got more paranoid. That last message, you think you're the only one with dirt. It kept looping in my head, and I started asking myself questions I never thought I'd ask. What if she had set something up? What if she'd been planning this longer than I realized? I went back through everything, texts, old photos, even our shared calendar. And that's when I saw it. A recurring entry every 3rd Thursday labeled Client Dinner, Keller Group. Always at 7 p.m. Always networking. Except, I remembered one of those nights. It was raining. She came home soaked, but didn't smell like food. Or wine. Or even rain. She smelled like his cologne. The same one I caught on the scarf in the guest room. I know because I sprayed every single bottle I could find at a department store like a maniac until I found the match. I felt sick. But it wasn't even the cheating anymore. That part had sunk in already. No, this was something else. This was strategy. She hadn't just slipped up. She'd been building a parallel life. One with a believable schedule, regular client dinners, and just enough space for me that I wouldn't notice the cracks. I checked my email next. Just to be thorough. I didn't expect to find anything. But tucked into the spam folder, buried under 3 weeks of junk, was a message from an unknown address. No name, no subject line. I opened it. All it said was, "She told him you hit her. Watch your back." I blinked. Reread it. Again. My brain couldn't even process it at first. But then everything clicked at once. That's why she was so calm. That's why the silence felt dangerous. Because she was building a counterstory. A trap. And then I remembered the bruise. 2 weeks ago, she came home from one of her dinners with a dark mark near her ribs. I asked her what happened, and she told me she slipped trying to reach for the top cabinet. I believed her. I even laughed and offered to install a step stool. But now I could see the threads. She used that, twisted it, told Alec, or maybe someone else, that I'd done it. Maybe even told HR. Maybe even the cops. My heart dropped into my stomach. I sat in the hallway, back against the wall, just staring at the floor. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't even raised my voice during arguments. But if she was desperate enough, manipulative enough, she could spin anything. And what would I have to fight that? Her word against mine? In today's world? So I made a decision. I packed the essentials, laptop, documents, all the backups I'd made, copies of the camera footage, the burner phone, everything. I put it in a duffel and locked it in the trunk. Then I called my cousin Jonah. We barely talked, but he had a cabin 3 hours out. He owed me a favor. No questions asked. I wasn't running. Not yet. But I needed space. I needed safety. Because this wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was war. And she had started rewriting the story. But I still had something she didn't know about. Something she forgot the cameras caught. And once I showed that to the right person, her lies wouldn't just fall apart. They'd collapse like a house made of matchsticks. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. I didn't leave a note, didn't post online, didn't even tell my own brother. I just grabbed the duffel, threw on a hoodie, and drove. I didn't breathe easy until I hit the county line. Every car behind me looked suspicious. Every slow-driving SUV made me glance at my rearview mirror for too long. I know how it sounds. I sound insane. I get it. But when someone you shared a bed with starts turning your life into a setup, you stop assuming anything's normal. I got to Jonah's cabin just before dark. He was out of town, like I'd hoped. The key was still taped behind the breaker box like he said. The place smelled like dust and firewood. I didn't care. It was quiet. No doorbell. No scent of her perfume on the couch. No echo of her voice in the kitchen. Just quiet. I dropped the bag on the couch, plugged in my laptop, and went straight back into the security footage archives. I needed to find the piece she forgot. The part she wouldn't expect me to have. And I did. It was almost poetic. 3 days before the client dinner, she was in our bedroom alone, talking on speakerphone. She didn't know the camera picked up audio. She must have bumped the setting during a software update. And there it was, her voice, crystal clear, saying, "I told him I slipped, but it'll work better if he gets mad. Just poke him until he cracks." That was it. That one line. She was trying to bait me, emotionally manipulate me into blowing up so she could sell the victim narrative. My hands shook as I saved the clip and made 3 separate backups. Then I added it to the "if she twists the story" drive. I stared at that folder. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like insurance. But even with all that, I couldn't shake the dread in my chest. It had been 2 days of silence from her. No new texts, no calls. I checked her social media. Nothing. Dead quiet. But Alex's wife? She messaged me again. She said, "Thank you. I left. He's still trying to blame you. I know what she's doing. They're trying to flip the narrative. Just be careful. She's scared now. And dangerous." That last word hit me hard. Dangerous. That's not a word you use lightly. That's not, "she's sad," or "she's unstable." That's another level. And suddenly I realized, I had no clue who Karis really was. I thought I'd married someone cold, maybe selfish. But I hadn't considered something worse. Someone calculated enough to destroy people just to walk away looking like the one who was wronged. That night, around 2:17 a.m., someone knocked on the cabin door. 3 short knocks. Then silence. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My heart slammed in my chest like a hammer. I hadn't told anyone I was here. No GPS. No tracker. I'd wiped my location data. How? Another knock. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Of course. I checked the peephole. Nothing. Just darkness. But when I opened the laptop again, I saw it. Someone had tried to access the shared folder. Someone with an IP from my home city. Not a hack, a link click. Someone I'd sent it to. But the name wasn't one I recognized. It wasn't Alex's wife. Wasn't HR. It was new. That's when I understood. Karis wasn't just trying to protect herself. She was preparing a new phase. And I had a sinking feeling it wasn't just about divorce anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I sat on the cabin floor with a kitchen knife in one hand and my laptop glowing in the dark like some sort of lifeline. I must have replayed that knock at the door in my head 1,000 times. 3 knocks. Then nothing. Not even footsteps. And the worst part? When I finally opened the door at sunrise, there was nothing there. No footprints in the frost. No tire tracks. Just an empty clearing and the sound of my own breath. It didn't make sense. No one knew I was here. No one. Not even my cousin had texted since I arrived. So either I was losing it, or someone wanted me to believe I was. I opened the laptop and checked the link history again. That unfamiliar IP address. It wasn't just from my hometown. I did a deeper lookup. It was traced back to a university campus just 30 minutes from where Karis's sister taught night classes. And guess what her sister had always hated about me? "He's too sensitive," she said once. Too weak. Not a match for Karis. They were building something. A coordinated image. Emotional instability. Isolation. Maybe even violence. A full psychological profile they could weaponize. I knew how this would play if I didn't act. They'd say I'd snapped. That I'd run off, unstable. That I was dangerous, obsessive, emotionally unpredictable. They were building a paper trail without ever filing a thing. Just planting whispers. Shaping the perception. I had no proof of the knock. No witness. No cell service. No security cameras this far out. It was the perfect place for someone to make me vanish, or make it look like I'd vanished on my own. I packed. Fast. Threw everything back into the bag, slammed the laptop shut, and drove. No destination. Just away. Gravel spit behind me as I floored it through the trees, trying to convince myself I wasn't overreacting. But every tree looked like it was hiding someone. Every curve in the road felt like a setup. An hour later, I stopped at a gas station with working signal. First thing I did was check my email. There was a new message. No subject. No sender. Inside, just 5 words. You're unraveling. Everyone sees it. That was it. I nearly dropped the phone. It was happening. The psychological pressure. The discrediting. Make me question my own reality. Make me paranoid. Then when I finally collapse, they swoop in as the concerned ones. The innocent ones. I stood in that parking lot, fists clenched so tight, I felt my nails cut into my palm. I'd been humiliated, betrayed, manipulated, and now I was being framed for my own breakdown. No more. I drove back to the city, straight to a lawyer. Not for divorce, not yet. For protection. I walked in looking like hell and told him everything. I showed the evidence. The emails. The messages. The burner phone. The security camera audio. He didn't say much, just listened. Then he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You need to file a protective order. Now, before she flips this completely." I filed it that day. Fast. Quiet. Clean. Then I made a final copy of the footage and sent it, not to friends, not to her job, but to a journalist I knew from college. A guy who owed me a favor. I told him to hold it, just in case. And I included one last piece of evidence she had no idea I'd recovered. Because remember that burner phone? It didn't just have texts. It had voice recordings. One of them was from a car ride. She didn't know it was recording. But the voice, her voice, was clear. If I ever want to ruin him, I'll just say he threatened me. Who do you think they'll believe? I didn't cry when I heard it this time. I didn't feel sick. I felt ready. Because now I wasn't just trying to survive her lies. I was going to end them. The hearing was quiet. No yelling. No dramatics. Just me, my lawyer, and her. Karis, sitting across the room like nothing had happened. Her expression was composed, smooth, like she still believed she was ahead of me. She even had the audacity to wear the same beige jacket I'd thrown onto the pavement weeks earlier. Like this was all some business negotiation and not the wreckage of a marriage she personally lit on fire. The judge asked if I had anything to support my request. I didn't speak. I just slid a flash drive across the table. My hands didn't even shake this time. The courtroom went silent as the clerk plugged it in and hit play. Her voice filled the room. Crystal clear. If I ever want to ruin him, I'll just say he threatened me. Who do you think they'll believe? No one moved. Her lawyer reached over and stopped the audio. Karis didn't even try to speak. Her eyes flicked to mine, not with fury, not with rage, with fear. She knew. She lost. The protective order was granted immediately. But more than that, her plan cracked open like a dropped glass. HR got involved. Alec resigned. Karis was put on indefinite leave, pending internal investigation. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just walked out of the courthouse with a silence I hadn't felt in years. A heavy silence, but a clean one. In the weeks that followed, something strange happened. People I hadn't heard from in forever started messaging me. Not just to gossip, but to say they'd always felt something off. That they noticed how she spoke over me. How she twisted little things. They just hadn't said anything. I didn't blame them. I hadn't said anything either. I'd let it happen for years, quietly convincing myself I was the problem. But not anymore. I didn't move back into the old house. I sold it. Every room held a version of me I didn't want to be anymore. The apologizer, the second-guesser, the doormat. I used the money to start over. Small town. Simple place. No shared closets. No burner phones. No cameras hidden behind picture frames. Just peace. I got a dog. I started cooking again, badly, but happily. I even started talking to people like a human again, not like someone trying to scan every word for hidden traps. And yeah, eventually, I met someone. No big love story. Just a kind woman named Elise who doesn't play games and doesn't treat trust like a bargaining chip. Karis tried to reach out once. An email. One line. You win. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted the last word, but because I didn't need it. I didn't need to win. I just needed to finally stop losing myself. And now, I'm not lost anymore.